Hey there, everybody. Biunno here with you live on WFLA Now. Happy Friday to you. You might be thinking about a weekend visit to Disney. We're going to break down Disney World's response to coronavirus here with Ruth here momentarily. The first thing that we want to make perfectly clear is that coronavirus is not at Disney World. To our knowledge, we have not heard of any cases from the CDC or from the State Department of Health or from the governor's office in pertaining to coronavirus COVID-19 at Disney. In fact, we haven't had any positive cases or presumptive positive tests in Central Florida outside of the Tampa Bay area. So the Orlando area, no presumptive positives there. Still, here at WFLA, we are getting inundated with questions, emails, Facebook messages, tweets, people asking, should I go to Disney World? Can I bring my family to Disney World safely this weekend? Should I go? Should I wait? What do I do if I'm dying to go to Disney? We have a lot of annual pass holders here that go to Disney on the weekends. We also have a lot of people from around the world that visit Disney all the time. Let's get to Disney World's most recent response. We're also going to be breaking down the responses from other theme parks, but this is from Tuesday, Disney World to People magazine, reading, quote, "We know there's new information this week about coronavirus in Florida. We have very stringent sanitation procedures in place at Walt Disney World Resort. We are in close contact with health agencies for information and guidance, and at this time, we are continuing to communicate to our cast the importance of preventive measures such as frequent hand washing and rigorous cleaning processes. For guest convenience, we have placed additional hand sanitizers throughout our parks and resorts and will adjust our protocols as the situation warrants. Let's bring in WFLA Plus's Ruth. Daisy joining us here live in the Stream Center to break us down, because we're not just talking about Disney World, we're also going to be talking about various other theme parks here in the state of Florida. Of course, we have many theme parks here in the state of Florida, but Daisy, this is a question that we're not just asking in a Facebook Live interactive poll for folks, which we're going to get to responses here momentarily, but this is a question that we've been receiving nonstop since we started talking about this on Monday.
Yes, we see a lot of comments about Walt Disney World, whether it's safe to go, whether you should stay home. We've been getting that question a lot through all of our WFLA Now streams, whether it's an update after the governor has told us about a new case of COVID-19. We have 4 here in the state. Or when we're talking to professionals in the morning. And it's something that when you're planning on going to the most magical place on earth, you don't want to have to think about, but you do have to keep yourself safe. And once again, we're going to reiterate there are no presumptive cases that we know of in the Orlando, Lake Buena Vista area right now. But it's something we all know. People from all over the world come to Disney World. There are a lot of people that plan vacations years and years in advance. We have viewers from across the nation here on WFLA Now, so maybe some of you are one of those families that have been planning a vacation for years and spending thousands of dollars to get here. It's a really unfortunate situation, and it's a question we have been getting a lot.
Yeah, we've been hearing nonstop, really, in all the Facebook Live streams we've done here on WFLA Now, and I'm just going to take a stab at this and just say, I don't think that the fear that people have, or at least the questions that people are asking, have much to do with the cases in Florida. Of course, we have the 2 in Hillsborough County. We have the presumptive positive in Santa Rosa County on the Florida Panhandle. We also have the gentleman in Manatee County, also in the Tampa Bay area, right here in the state of Florida. But while that's in the I-4 corridor, while that's just west of Orlando, that's not really in the Orlando area, the Central Florida area, where, of course, we have Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, other theme parks there. Right. So I think that the fear or the questions that are being asked are in regards to the international travel, right?
Absolutely.
With COVID-19, of course, popping up around the world, really every continent with the exception of Antarctica right now, people are worried about bringing in coronavirus from abroad, from countries like Italy or countries like China or Iran. There are a lot of countries, of course, that have hotspots for coronavirus, and if a family there has it and then brings it, you get the idea. If it brings it here to Disney, then what happens? Because at Disney World, Daisy, we both have been there.
Yes.
You go, you're touching everything, right? You're around a ton of people. It's very, listen, it's the most magical place on earth, but it's also one of the most crowded places on earth as well, depending on what time of year you go, of course. I think we've learned some new information about the fingerprint scanners, though, right? Because the fingerprints
Yes.
are what you use to gain access to the park and also for various rides around
Absolutely,
Walt
yeah.
Disney World, right?
Yeah, that's what you use. You scan your index finger and either your magic band that has your ticket on it or your actual ticket to get into the park. And we know that cast members are wiping those scanners down after every person comes through. But you're absolutely right. I totally forgot about the Fast Pass. You have to scan your finger and your Fast Pass every time you get on a ride. And you get 3 of those at minimum a day when you're visiting Walt Disney World.
So when you go into Disney and you use those fingerprint scanners, it's a very, everyone's filing in very quickly, and
Yes.
you put your finger down and it scans it, and then the next person comes in. Everyone's touching these
One
scanners.
thing, yes.
Now we're being told that they're going to be sanitized every time that somebody
Yes.
puts their finger down. They're going to sanitize it down. I would imagine that's going to increase the lines a little bit, but that's not a concern at all. The weight isn't a concern at all when you're dealing with people's health and making sure that everyone in the park is safe and not contracting a virus that has led to deaths around the world.
Absolutely.
So again, they're going to be, of course, increasing the amount of hand sanitizer, encouraging people to wash their hands thoroughly. And then when it comes to the employees at Disney, we know there are thousands of employees at Disney World. They're also going to be making sure that the protocol's there and it's communicated to their staff that cleanliness is an enormous priority right now for folks at Walt Disney World Resort. So this is the response to Disney. Daisy, you have responses from some other theme parks. We're going to be getting to our interactive poll here momentarily. Again, we're asking on Facebook Live, would you visit Walt Disney World under the current conditions with coronavirus? I'm seeing the results here populate on Facebook Live. We're going to get to those results here momentarily. We're also going to be reading your Facebook Live questions and comments using the hashtag HeyJB or hashtag HeyDaisy here momentarily. But Daisy, you have some responses from some other theme parks. It's not just Disney. We have a lot of others here in Florida.
Yep, so Legoland, I think it has the most interesting statement. They said they have restricted employee travel to higher risk countries like China, Italy, and they have implemented enhanced cleaning regimes at their attractions and informed their teams of coronavirus symptoms, as well as the importance of good hygiene practices. And going back to good hygiene practices, something we have been telling people over and over and over, wash your hands. Washing your hands with soap and water is better than using hand sanitizer. But if you're at these theme parks, it's probably a good idea to have hand sanitizer with you in between those times you're washing your hands. Busch Gardens and SeaWorld, who are owned by the same company, say, in matters pertaining to public health, our parks take direction from the Florida Department of Health and the CDC. We employ rigorous sanitation standards across our parks and will continue to collaborate with health officials, monitor the situation for changes, and will act accordingly. So a pretty general statement there. And Universal Orlando out there with Walt Disney World as well says it's ready to act if needed. They're communicating with team members, reinforcing best practice health and hygiene procedures, and they're educating their employees on basic preventative measures. And also, I think it's important to note, we haven't talked about this yet. Disneyland parks in Shanghai and Hong Kong are closed indefinitely. They don't have any opening date. And Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea are closed through March 15th. Those parks have been closed since February 29th. So the Walt Disney Company is seeing some closures in their parks around the world.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear all these responses. We want to let folks know that we have made a repeated request for comment to Walt Disney World in the last 48 hours with the number of cases going from 2 to 3 to 4 in the state of Florida, with the number of cases of coronavirus increasing around the world, with the number of fatalities increasing around the world. Again, we're stressing one more time that there is no coronavirus that we know of at Walt Disney World or any other theme parks in the Orlando area. We don't know of any coronavirus at any theme park really in the whole state. Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, Universal Orlando, Legoland. We only know of the 4 cases that are currently in isolation. The tests continue to be done, and they're being done at this hour, really every day. But we don't know of any cases going on in Central Florida pertaining to the theme parks, including Walt Disney World. But people have been asking us repeatedly over and over again, would you go to Disney World, or should you go to Disney World with what's going on with coronavirus? Because if you've been to Disney, you'll be walking in Disney or Epcot, which is one of my favorite parks, right, at Disney. Epcot is fantastic. It's a great time. And you get a lot of international people that go to Epcot
Yes.
because of course, the setup there with visiting different countries around the world there.
The Flower and Garden Festival just started this week.
There you go. Daisy, of course, being a Disney pass holder and a I think a Disney expert, someone who goes quite a bit to Disney World. You'll be walking around Epcot or any theme park, and you hear people speaking in different languages. It's very obvious that they're from a different country, that they're coming here and they're visiting us from abroad, and that's great. We love, of course, to see international visitors, but at a time like this, with what's going on around the world with coronavirus, there are people now that are asking the question, what does this mean for me going to Disney World if we have so many international people that come in, visit the state of Florida, and go to Disney World or Universal or any of the theme parks that we have here? So our Facebook Live question, everybody: would you visit Disney World under the current conditions with coronavirus? We gave you 3 different possible responses: yes, no, or unsure/no answer. And we're going to continue to let people vote here. And in fact, I'm just going to turn this button on here so that everyone can continue to vote. But as it stands right now, 33% say they would visit Disney World right now. 50% say no, that they wouldn't.
What
The
are your
rest of
thoughts
you,
on that, JB?
about 19% saying no.
Would you go to Disney World?
It depends on the type of person you are. It depends on so many different factors, right? If you love Disney and you don't think coronavirus is a big deal and you're not concerned about crowds and so on and so forth, I think that there are going to be people who just love Disney World so much and have invested so much in a potential trip that they know that the chances of them getting coronavirus are extraordinarily slim.
Absolutely.
And then you're going to have the people out there, I think, that are going to take the better safe than sorry approach and look at it this way. Maybe the people who don't have hundreds or thousands of dollars committed to a trip to Disney, who are going to say either A, better safe than sorry, I'm just not going to go, I'm going to wait a little bit, or B, I'm going to postpone my trip to a time where this isn't a global concern. And that the international community, medical community, isn't on high alert for the spread of COVID-19. That Disney World isn't going anywhere.
Right.
It's going to be here for a long time. It's been here for a long time, and I can assure you it's going to be just as fun in 2020 as it would be in 2021 or 2022. So you're going to get the different people out there. But there are, of course, there's a large number of people, and I see them here in the Facebook Live comments. People who are saying. People who are saying this is so small of a thing, and me and my family have been looking forward to this for months. We've been, maybe you're in a northern state, you're huddled up in the snow right now or in the cold weather, and you are just dying for some sunshine, and this is something you and your family have been looking forward to, and all of the arrangements that you have made are non-refundable. You're gonna look at it in a different light than somebody who lives right here in Tampa or right here in Jacksonville or right here outside of Orlando, who could go at any time. So there's a lot of different factors to consider. We're going to open up the Facebook Live Q&A portion of this. Use the hashtag HeyJB or hashtag HeyDaisy. We're going to both be bringing up the comment section here to answer as many questions as possible, questions based on what we know. Neither of us work for Disney. We've made repeated requests for comment from Disney or to get a spokesperson to talk to us. We have not been successful. Other media outlets largely have been unsuccessful. So we are going to do the very best to answer as many questions as possible based on the information that we know and based on the interviews we've been doing all week long. So I don't know if you have seen any. Let's see here. Amanda Lynn, hashtag HeyJB, has Disney seen a decline in attendance due to this?
Question.
Great question from Amanda, again, using the hashtag HeyJB. We haven't heard very much from Disney throughout this process, and I don't think that Disney would be one to admit that their attendance numbers are down. But, Daisy, I know that you have the app, right? That monitors,
I do.
That monitors the wait times, and you're keeping an eye on that pretty frequently, I know, because you love to go to Disney and you want to see what the crowds are like. If you want to know what the crowds are like at Disney at this time, a really reliable tool, folks, is bringing up the app and seeing the wait times Daisy, of course, has that app. What does it look like?
So I'm looking at Hollywood Studios right now, JB. The Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway just opened on Tuesday, and that is currently at a 90-minute wait. That is the new ride. Rise of the Resistance. I know I've seen a couple comments about Rise of the Resistance, the Star Wars ride come through. That doesn't have, it's not a, you have to have a boarding pass to get into that right now, so I can't imagine the lines for that. But Smuggler's Run, the other Star Wars ride, is $75. Let me go over to Animal Kingdom, because those Pandora rides, they've been around for a while, but yep, the Na'vi River Journey over in Animal Kingdom, 105 minutes, and Avatar Flight of Passage, 95. So even in the middle of a day on a Friday, when a lot of folks are still at work, these are some pretty substantial wait times. I've seen them worse, but...
So... Right. I would imagine that right now at Disney, things are somewhat normal.
Yes.
I would, right?
I would say that for
fair to say.
Yes.
And there's got to be some relief in knowing that Disney is taking taking the precautions, like increasing the amount of hand sanitizer accessibility and wiping down the fingerprint scanners. They're doing things, of course, to make sure that they are not the next place to have a presumptive positive test, or even worse, that somebody who said that they were there weeks ago, maybe perhaps, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying. I don't want to say something that would insinuate something that would lead to Disney, of course, being upset with us. But
right.
I want to just make it clear that Disney at this time, they're taking the precautions. And as of right now, there has not been really much as far as,
right.
Disney
World, Disneyland, both still open. It is those international parks. Once again, the parks in Hong Kong, Shanghai, the park in Hong Kong, and also Shanghai Disneyland are closed indefinitely. No date to when those will reopen. And Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea are closed through March 15th. But things are operational and business as usual here in Florida and also out in California.
So a few more questions coming in. Let's see here. I just had one, #HeyJB, from Beth Kennedy. If you use hand sanitizer while at Disney, do you think that would lessen the chances? If you use hand sanitizer anywhere, Beth, it's going to lessen the chances. So this is not a Disney exclusive thing with hand sanitizer. So the answer is yes. Use hand sanitizer if you go to Disney. Use hand sanitizer if you go to a school. Use hand sanitizer if you go to a restaurant. Like this is I probably put hand sanitizer on my hands probably a bunch of times today. It doesn't take very long, and it's nice. You have clean hands, and it's not that much effort. So if you can use hand sanitizer and take the precautions, and that's something that you want to do, and you should, by all means, you go ahead and do it. But to answer your question, I think it would lessen the chances at Disney or really any place else. Angelia Muller saying #HeyJB, what about all the rides and railings, going to the rides, etc.? Just the fingerprint machine getting wiped down? ? So wanting to know about rides and railings. Daisy,
I would hope that they would be starting to maybe a cast member come through every once in a while and just wipe some things down, because I know I lean on those railings and I touch those railings, and it would be something that would definitely also need wiped down. And also, I have a question here from Sandra Vansett. She says, I've heard they have some employees quarantined. Any news on that? Yes, there were, I believe, 6 employees that had recently traveled to Italy that were asked to self-isolate. I think they are still in that 14-day self-isolation period that we keep talking about. I'm not sure if they've been tested, but we know there has been no presumptive positives coming from that area. So they may still be in self-isolation. I don't believe they ever made it back to work at the parks. So I don't believe how much of a risk there is there besides the headline, Disney employees asked to self-isolate.
Deb Hinman, #HeyJB, practically speaking, won't the next week tell us a lot about how this is going to go in our area since we now have confirmed cases? Yes.
With the testing center?
Yep, with testing centers open, with more tests being done, with all those being monitored, and the outstanding tests that are currently out there. Absolutely, I think that we're gonna know so much more a week from now than we do right now, and I think that's why there are a lot of people who feel like, comfort-wise, it's best to be in a holding pattern right now.
Right.
Again, if you're a Florida resident, or even if you're, a United States resident, if you can delay your trip just a couple more weeks or a couple more months to when it falls within your comfort level, that's something that I think a lot of people are going to consider, considering that right now this is still very fresh, right? Even though we're a week into this here in the state of Florida, this is still a very fresh thing. And people want as many answers and they want to be as educated as possible. Imagine if you got here, in a couple of days and then you found out some news in Orlando, right? So there are a lot of people out there, from what I'm seeing on Facebook, are taking the better safe than sorry approach. But then you're going to have a lot of people out there who are going to say, hey, I want to go to Disney, and there's nothing that's going to stop that. And that's totally okay.
I feel that.
The only time we're going to say that it's not okay to go to Disney is if you have
if Disney tells us that it's
if you have coronavirus.
That also that.
If you have coronavirus, you're not going to Disney.
Stay at home.
You're gonna be, of course, in isolation to prevent others from getting it as well.
Denise Leonard Jenkins says they are at Disney now. Thanks for watching us while you're at Disney, and they have stand-free stations of hand sanitizer, and they have theirs. That's great.
Joy Gallant in the comment section, #HJB. Epcot was empty yesterday, and the wait time for park attractions were 60 minutes or less. Usually they're 90 minutes plus.
Yeah.
That's a great comment here from Joy, saying that Epcot was kind of, I don't know if that's because it was a Thursday or if it was just particularly empty.
There is a lot of construction out at that park also.
See, that's why it's invaluable to have Daisy here, because Daisy knows what's going on at Disney. Let's see here.
Over to Hill, you joined us yesterday. I remember you. Says, when I worked at Disney, cast members always came to work sick because it was tough to call in sick. You get points across, so a lot of us got sick from them. I think that's a big issue across the board. Maybe in restaurants, I don't want to speculate if that's true from Disney. I mean, coming from a former cast member. But I think that's the case in a lot of places, that if you even with influenza, if you're not feeling quite right and you still go to work, I think we as a society need to start accepting sick days a little bit better. And maybe this is what gets us there, is COVID-19.
Let's publish the Facebook Live results, everybody, because they have held perfectly steady since we have begun the interactive poll. If you're joining us on Facebook Live on WFLA's Facebook page, you're going to see an interactive pop-up within the next 90 seconds or so, we believe, or that's how it's supposed to work. Would you visit Disney World under the current conditions with coronavirus? We gave you 3 different responses, and 33% of those responses were yes, 50% no,
wow,
17% unsure or would prefer not to answer the interactive poll question, which is, of course, okay. But half of you saying no is absolutely interesting. It's interesting because that's a large number of poll respondents, and of course our polls are largely unscientific, but they usually give us a little bit of a temperature as to how people are feeling out there when it comes to Disney. Now, remember, a lot of our Facebook fans are here in the state of Florida.
That was what I was just about to say.
And Florida people can go to Disney whenever they want. If, all you need is a car trip over to Orlando,
which
and
is
there you are.
usually a beautiful thing until things like this happen.
Right. So if we did this poll, let's say for a international or national audience, let's say a national audience from all 50 states, the number would be way higher in the no department, I believe, just because I'm not going to go now, and I'm not going to go. Why would I go now when I can go in a few months,
right,
so on to speak? But that's kind of where my head's at with this.
I'm seeing a question from Angela Buford. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name. It says hashtag Hey Daisy, any info on Disney Cruise Lines, keeping all upcoming cruise sailing as planned. We also don't know that as well. We have not heard a whole heck of a lot from Disney at all. So from our knowledge, we have not heard that anything is going on with the Disney Cruise Lines. So I would imagine all of those cruises are still setting sail as planned for right now.
Casey Wirestick is saying hashtag HeyJB, would you go to Disney? All right, I'll answer. I'll play ball. I'm in Tampa. I live in Tampa. I live in the Tampa Bay area, and I can 1.5 hours, right? 90 minutes on I-4, right?
Depends
Daisy?
on how I-4 is, yeah.
Depending on traffic, I can go not whenever I want, but mostly whenever I would like to go to Disney. Me and my wife, we can go. And as of right now, I would say it's one of those things. Like I could wait. I can wait until things just kind of quiet down a little bit, and when I have a little bit more information. Again, with so many tests still to come back in the state of Florida, and we're waiting on so many more of those tests to come back. I would just, for me, I mean, I think that I would like to see just a little bit more information. Again, still very fresh. We're about 5-6 days into this, and maybe, but you know what? In a week, if the situation remains the same, I might be more inclined to go to Disney just because of the trend. So that's a good question. And how about Daisy? Would you feel comfortable?
Absolutely. I might go Sunday. That's the thing. You're right. It's fresh and it's a new situation. We've only been about a week into this, but it comes down to one of those things. Like, you still have to live your life, but maybe a little more cautiously. If I go, I'm going to take hand sanitizer, maybe be more conscious of what I'm touching, maybe not lean on those railings as I'm standing waiting for a ride. But I don't want to be fearful, so I think I would absolutely consider going. Just with some extra hand sanitizer, maybe a couple extra hand washing breaks in the restrooms. Be more conscious if I'm in Epcot and I'm eating something to use hand sanitizer before, things like that. Right. I wouldn't want to be scared.
Yeah, and that so there you have it, folks. I mean, like, some people are going to be in the camp of we'll wait, see what happens, and some are going to be in the camp of no, Daisy wants to go to Disney on Sunday, so she's going to go to Disney on Sunday. Remember, no cases of coronavirus reported at Disney. No cases of coronavirus being connected to Disney. No cases of coronavirus being connected to any Florida theme park. Legoland, Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, Universal Orlando. So this is just based on the presumption that because we get so many international visitors that go to our theme parks here in Florida, that the chances of you contracting COVID-19 are higher here than, let's say, in Montana or Idaho or a state that does not see really virtually any international travel for the most part. So with all the international people coming in from abroad, of course, this is a question that we have been receiving relentlessly here at WFLA over these last 5-6 days.
So this was something else I had written down, and of course I just remembered. I will be interested to see moving forward, if things get worse, the response to characters, if Disney World will pull character visits. I don't know how, I don't want to say dangerous, but concerning it would be for kids and even adults to hug and shake hands and interact with folks in costumes. But for, say, the princesses who are not in a costume, it's just a woman and dressed as Ariel, and she's hugging on people and signing autographs. Also, someone handing her an autograph book. Be interested to see moving forward if that kind of interaction may stop.
Yeah.
I just thought of that before we
close
went on
contact,
stream. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And again, when you're at Disney, for those of you who have been to Disney on a busy day, you are, if you're in a crowded line, if you're in a crowded area, if you're waiting for something, whether it's to sit down at a place for a bite to eat or a drink, or if you're standing in line to get into the park,
yes,
you're coming into contact, close proximity with so many people. And yes, characters is another element to it. When me and my wife went to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, anytime there was Kylo Ren or a stormtrooper making a lap around Galaxy's Edge just to, shout commands at the park goers, we followed. We
yes.
we wanted to be part of that. It felt like a parade around Star Wars Galaxy's Edge because so many people just wanted to be part of that experience and get their phones out and snap videos and pictures of. We had Darth Vader coming out a couple of times as well, so you just want to be part of that experience. And I would imagine, we haven't talked about this yet, I would imagine any theme park, really any theme park, because our theme parks here in Florida are extraordinary, and a big hat tip, a kudos to all of the performers and the employees who make the experience so captivating.
So immersive, especially
so
in
immersive.
Galaxy's Edge.
When you go to a theme park, I forget what my job is. I forget what my current laundry situation is at home. I forget
how old I am.
my chores. Right, you forget how old you are. So I would imagine that within a few minutes of getting into Disney, for most people, you're going to just be so captivated by the experience that you're probably going to forget about coronavirus. Now, you could argue that that's not a good thing.
Absolutely.
Because you want to be ever present of what's going on, and you want to remember to use hand sanitizer and just try to be safe and have safe practices. But at the same time, this is something where we get so with the media, and of course us being reporters here, Daisy, we get with all the headlines that we're constantly being surrounded by, and all the headlines that we're constantly consuming. That you're not really checking your phone too much at Disney, and you just kind of escape into that world. And there are going to be people that are going to go and want to be part of that experience, and coronavirus isn't really going to be on their radar. So
you just have to have that in the back of your mind moving forward. And I think it's a good thing moving forward, even when COVID-19 isn't an issue, to just have that extra hand sanitizer with you, so you're not getting things like influenza or a cold or any kind of germs or bugs that are on a railing. I don't want to say it's a good thing, but maybe it'll make people think a little bit more moving forward.
Absolutely. Let's put out there, this is a last call, and I'm going to put it here in the comments section, last call for the Q&A.
I had gotten a question, and I apologize, I totally lost the comment, about Disneyland. I have not heard anything about Disneyland either, about an outbreak. Hashtag, hey Daisy, how's Minnie Mouse? If I go on Sunday, I'll let you know Monday.
Last call for questions here on Facebook Live using the hashtags HeyJB or hashtag HeyDaisy. We'll be taking as many questions here as possible in these last few minutes with us here live on WFLA Now. Even if you have a comment, if you think that I think that there is a sizable amount of people that are either watching the stream or who have been following all the headlines who think that this is utterly ridiculous. That and I'm not saying that I'm just saying that this is how they feel. I think that there are people out there that feel that even the concept of changing your plans and not going to Disney because of coronavirus is utterly ridiculous when you consider the fact that there hasn't been a single case connected to a Florida theme park, especially Disney, which has, of course, all the different. What's the count of how many visitors we get here a year to go to Disney? I don't even know. It's some astronomical number.
It's astronomical. You're absolutely right.
So people who would say, my goodness, like, are you really going to alter your life and alter, major plans to,
I can see both sides of the coin with that.
Right. And then, that's exactly. You can flip it. And then the people who are just like, oh my goodness, with everything that's going on, of course I'm not going to go to Disney. Of course I'm going to stay home. Of course I'm going to take precautions to not be around a large crowd of people and perhaps the largest contingency of international visitors that we have here in the southeastern United States, or one of the largest. So there's two sides to this, and it's interesting to be here and reading all of these comments.
Right.
Michael Biggins, hashtag HeyJB. It costs too much to risk it. I'm curious, Michael, do you mean it costs too much, like personally to you and your livelihood and your health, that it costs too much? Or are you talking about like it costs too much, like it's a lot of money and it's too expensive for you when in reality you could stay home? I'm curious if you have a follow-up comment there, but. Heather Horowitz Rosenfeld, hashtag HeyJB, do we think anyone will restock sanitizer?
Those cast members are so good out there. I'm sure if you're talking about hand sanitizer at Disney, I think those will definitely be well monitored.
I think that Disney is probably buying up, just like every company right now, buying up as much hand sanitizer as they can to make sure that they are doing their due diligence and promoting a safe environment for their park goers. Us here at WFLA, we bought, 3 huge boxes of hand sanitizer the other day and started handing them out, and people were taking them like they were like they were Girl Scout cookies. I mean, it was like hand sanitizer. Companies are buying hand sanitizer in such large volumes right now. I would imagine that Disney, is doing exactly the same. All right, so this is, again, just kind of the last call for any comments or questions here. Jessica Welch Hernandez, hashtag HJB. Do you think that Disney will extend our Florida resident ticket for those of us that have them that will expire in June? Great question, Jessica. And I'm gonna pivot to Daisy here because Daisy is perhaps the best person to answer that question.
I think if the park has to shut down, that would be something that they would offer an extension. But I think right now, where things stand right now, I think that's wishful thinking. I totally understand where you're coming from. If you don't want to go and you have this ticket, you have this pass that you're not using and you're spending money on because you're being cautious. But I don't think the mouse is gonna help you out there unless the park actually shutters its windows, closes its doors for a couple days, if not weeks, like Shanghai Disneyland and Hong Kong closed indefinitely right now.
Again, the results of our Facebook Live poll, 50% unscientific Facebook Live poll, made up of largely respondents from the state of Florida because, of course, we're WFLA here in the Tampa Bay area of Florida. Would you go to Disney World under the current conditions with coronavirus? 50% of you saying no. 33% of you saying yes. 17% unsure / no answer. Somebody brought up in the comment section that wish that we would have included a poll response with the answer being no because of a compromised immune system. And that's
that's a
great observation. We have been stressing it on
Absolutely.
WFLA Now, Daisy and myself, all week long. The risk is heightened for those who have a compromised immune system, and those are the people that are really encouraged to take extra precautions, extra safety precautions, because if you have a compromised immune system and you contract COVID-19, the outcome is potentially worse for somebody
Right.
that does not have a compromised immune system. It's all straightforward. This is not rocket science, people, but it's a great point and one that we wanted to stress here. Again, Diane Hudson Howard, hashtag KJB. Any word on how the Sarasota man may have contracted it? No updates yet. Well, I'm very curious, Diane. I'm sure that others who have been following WFLA Now and everything we've been doing here at News Channel 8 are very curious as well.
We know he didn't travel. That's about the extent of what we know.
But that, we've been very curious for an update. But I think that does it here for us here on WFLA Now, everybody. We really appreciate you being with us, and we appreciate the tireless efforts of WFLA Plus's Daisy Ruth. You can read her reporting on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. Any final thoughts here, Daisy?
Just wherever you're going, be safe, practice good hygiene, everything that we've been talking about all week. And as always, if there is breaking news with the coronavirus, if there are new cases, we will be back here live on WFLA Now. As soon as we know, we're going to work hard to make sure that you know as well.
And again, one more time, we did this stream because we've been inundated with questions. A lot of you asking in email and Facebook. Just we've been getting so many questions about this, about Disney and their response and whether or not people should go to Disney. But we want to stress one more time, there has not been a single case of coronavirus or COVID-19 that has been connected to a Florida theme park, that has been connected to Disney World. And these parks are doing their best. They are taking the necessary precautions to keep people safe. We have more information for you on that on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. Click on the link in the description of this video. You can read more, and we're going to have more reporting from Daisy and the rest of our 8 on Your Side team here in the days to come. I'm JB Biunno with Daisy Ruth. Thanks so much for being with us.